Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to go over some of the slight nuances in your assembly of your bread knife bucksaw. I also would like to point out some tips and design functions of the bucksaw bread knife and how it works and the important features of it. So if you've seen the quick and easy video of how to set it up, it's pretty straightforward, but there are some things in this video I'd like to kind of dissect and get into the nuance of the design features and what makes this knife work the best. So in your bag that you get, you're going to have four things, for major parts. You're going to have your sheath, you're going to have your centerboard, you're going to have the two collapsible posts with your straight stainless steel blade tucked inside. You're going to have with that what I like to call the twisty tab, and your twine or rope that you're going to twist to tension the blade in the bucksaw design. The handle has the dovetail, which goes into that post, and the important thing with that is you're going to want to put the handle in first because there is a slot in the dovetail, and this piece will slot through the arm into the handle, and that keeps your handle from popping out. And another important thing is your center board. I'd like to point this out because it's really important to having your knife work the best it can, as it's designed. So if you're right-handed, basically you're going to want this to face the loaf. You see there is a stamp on the board that says cut with this side facing the loaf. And so it's flat on this side, and there is a slight bevel to a point, and then on the back side there is a ramp that deflects your slice once you're cutting into your loaf. It deflects your slice off, or helps to deflect your slice off onto your cutting board. And if you're left-handed, you're going to want to have this board facing the loaf. You're going to hold the loaf with your right hand. You're going to cut with your left, obviously. And so you're going to want this facing the right side. Right-handed, you're going to want this thing facing the loaf with your left hand holding the bread loaf, and you're cutting with your right. It's one of the more important key features in this design. So basically, you're going to want to do the first step of taking apart unraveling the twine, opening up your post, flipping the blade out and exposing it, and then you're going to want to put your handle on first, because if you put the board in, it's not going to get around that groove in there. So we're going to put the handle on, and so it's a dovetail joint and it's pretty snug. There are sometimes cases where there is a better side to fit, and usually what I do is try and find that side and then pop it in. Another thing too is, like, if you notice the handle has a slight angle, it's nice to have that angled up a bit, because when you're cutting the bread with the perpendicular handle, having it flat or having a slight upward angle ergonomically is the best. Once you have your handle in, we're going to put the center board in. And so we're going to set this up as a right-handed knife. We're going to put this center board in all the way on each side. Each side has a groove that you're going to put the knife in on. You want to make sure it's seated all the way in, and that's going to make sure the knife is ready for the next step, which will be putting this twisty tab on. But before we do that, I like to put the sheath on the blade, because it kind of gives it a little bit more setup stability, and also you don't have a sharp stainless steel knife blade exposed while you're setting it up. So you're going to put the sheath on, you're going to tie the tie. Just a simple bow works pretty well. I mean, you can even just do it like that for the time being if it's tight, but for extra security, we're going to put it in a bow. And that also kind of gives it a little bit more rigidness in setting this thing up. At this point, I also would like to even out the center board so that it's even on both sides. And then we're ready for that next step, which is taking your twine And I like to position the twisty tab, as I like to call it, so it's in a good spot. Once we have this hooked up on the other side, we can twist this thing up and then slot the twisty tab in the twisty tab groove. And this is an early prototype. The twisty tab groove is longer on the newer versions, and this one just has a narrower slot. So basically, we're going to take this thing and we're going to put it, you can have it towards the front. Some people prefer, for whatever reason. It's just easy for me to put it here, and then while I loop that over the back post. This knife has been assembled a few times, and so this already has twists in the twine of the rope. There is on the newer knives, obviously, it's you're gonna have to start from having no twist. So this is kind of already started. So I'm gonna twist this thing up. So basically, you're gonna just twist until it gets tight. So as you're twisting, the rope is constricting. And what this is doing is it's putting tension on each side of the arm to put tension on your blade. And so you do it until you get it pretty tight. You don't want to over tighten it. And a good way to do this is like you slot it in the slot. That slot's important because when you're cutting the bread loaf and slice come up, and it's not going to knock this thing off like if it was on the side of the resting on the side of the center board. It's in the slot, and that slot keeps it pretty secure from unraveling. And then what I like to do at this point is take the sheath off. So let's take that sheath off, and then we can see how tight we have the blade. So in this so it seems pretty tight. I mean, I could probably like tighten this like maybe one more time. You don't want to over tighten, but this can get pretty tight, and that's just going to put more tension on your stainless steel blade. And that's so when you're cutting the bread, this isn't moving around a whole lot, which kind of you wouldn't want to be loose. Basically, you want it to be like have a nice tautness to it. And so the sounds that's the sound you kind of want to hear when you have this thing to the point where it needs to be on the tightness of your twine or rope. So you're pretty much like ready to go. You're all set. You can start cutting bread. While this thing's assembled and you're not using it, I definitely recommend keeping the sheath on, because you don't want to have a exposed blade out there if it's hanging up in your kitchen or in a drawer. So anyways, that is pretty much the video. You have your bucksaw bread knife, and you are ready to cut some bread. Thank you for watching, and if you have any more questions, feel free to visit the website homepage for this item. When you purchase it, there is a whole page dedicated to anything you want to know about your bucksaw bread knife. Thank you for watching. Have fun cutting bread.